Welcome back, Patriots, and how are you doing, guys? And I know this isn't live, but you can answer me anyway by commenting a hi and you're doing great, or be honest and tell me how you're really doing. I am doing awesome. I am blessed. I have peace and joy in my life. I wanted to thank everybody who was a part of the drawing for the Trump round, and I know that not everybody was pleased with how I decided to do it, but you know what they say, if you're pleasing everyone, you're doing something wrong. So thanks for those of you that were a part of it. I'm excited for the person that won. I know he received it, so now you all know I'm legit. So tonight I am excited to discuss a subject that is not an easy to find or common subject, that of the Boule. If you've looked at and studied the Illuminati of today, you probably have learned about the families of the past to some extent. You likely know there is a connection with the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, the Kennedys, Rothschilds, etc. You are probably aware of the Fed, the Federal Reserve, and many connections to those families. You'll know the Bush family is also connected. And because you know that, you'll know something about Skull and Bones Society. Since you know about secret societies like Skull and Bones, you'll know about the Boule, right? No? Well, okay, some of you might know. I have a feeling most of you listening won't know of the Boule, so I will introduce you. First of all, to introduce you, the reason I even began looking into any of the rabbit holes I now find myself consumed with is because of a rap artist by the name of Gene Thornton, aka No Malice, aka Malice. He was one of the duo of the Clips from the 90s, and his brother is famously known in the secular world as Pusha T. Gene left the secular scene because he found God and has since put out and talked about some real information that has shown me that there are some very dark forces at work in this world that I had not even imagined. Fast forward to 9/11, 2016, when everyone's most favorite fake patriot came on the scene, the kneeling hater of America, Colin Kaepernick. I had come across some very interesting information about who he really is and why he is even around, and why the timing is important to note. This led me deeper into the rabbit hole. I have no fear of controversial subjects, and I have experienced this particular issue to be a very confrontational subject. I mean, we are truthers in this community, meaning that we seek truth in every aspect, right? Well, wrong. I posted as a simple personal test some photos of Kaepernick that I would be discussing why he kneels for the flag and why it's important to know about. A few people knew some of the information I'd found a little bit, and only one knew what I had come to learn myself. And unfortunately, several people were angry that I even brought him up, claiming I should quit talking about him and giving him any notoriety. Well, friends, trust me, this video will do anything but give this controlled pawn a positive spin. On September 11th of 2016, that was the 15th anniversary of 9/11. We as truthers believe this to be an inside job that slaughtered almost 3,000 of America's own citizens, injured thousands, and brought down the New York Twin Towers and Building 7 by a clandestine, controlled demolition set up by the U.S. shadow government. 9/11 has been used as a pretext to a total satanic permanent state of war of global aggression and terrorism against people of color in Africa and the Middle East. Also, it is used to foster permanent domestic and global racial divides. The 9/11 truth movement has been growing globally year after year, attempting to expose the U.S. shadow government's crimes against democracy and humanity. We even saw Jon Stewart from The Daily Show preach the truth of the Trump administration's care of the first responders and illnesses they've incurred over the years since from the unsafe toxins in the air. That tells you that there is definitely a truth movement occurring. The 15th anniversary of the 9/11 inside job was pushing people to rethink 9/11 and advance a discussion that is a core issue among all people of the U.S. It is a discussion that is necessary in a world seeking global truth, balance, justice, and peace. Obviously, in my opinion, there was a deliberate mass media campaign by the Illuminati to divert public attention from Rethink 9/11 and other mass critical issues facing this country in 2016. The Colin Kaepernick protest against standing to allegiance to the U.S. red, white, and blue flag during opening ceremonies of the NFL football games before a global audience and hundreds of millions was because of U.S. domestic racism and police shootings of black people, and it has its merits. However, in this particular case, the narrative and the tactics of Kaepernick's corporate mass media special social protest PSYOP project was designed and controlled by the CIA and Illuminati on 9/11/16 as a mass population chaos and diversion program. In popular global mass media programs like the Satanic NFL and NCAA football, it is used to divide citizens against citizens, players against players, blacks against whites, politicians against citizens, military against non-military, homosexuals versus heterosexuals, and students against students. I can only imagine a more heroic effort would have been if Kaepernick and maybe something like Black Lives Matter, even though it's a paid NGO, would have put out a position paper on 9/11/16, at the very least for the country and the world to rethink 9/11 and join with the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth to demand a full and independent investigation of 9/11. But that wasn't going to happen under any circumstances. Kaepernick's protest has been used by the Illuminati as a dividing rod and distraction from 9/11 Truth and other truths and discussions important to America. With Kaepernick as the patsy and the sellout, they controlled the sideshow. Kaepernick scheduled himself to speak after with the elders and black community at 3rd Street Church in San Francisco shortly after the stunt to explain his stance and show support for the community. As I understand it, in any mass movement, counsel with the elders and the masses are essential to sustained success in the people's struggles. Colin Rand Kaepernick did not show up to address the church elders or the people as scheduled. He did not offer a reason, and he didn't apologize for his absence. He was too busy to talk to the people, even for 10 minutes, let alone 10 seconds. Colin Kaepernick hates all America, and he especially hates Christianity. He has no respect or love for black people or the masses of color. It is widely being reported that behind the veil is Kaepernick's girlfriend and possibly wife now, Nessa Diab, and that she is truly the one that controls Kaepernick. Nessa Diab, which is better known to MTV and radio fans as Nessa, shows a thing or two about rising up in the hosting and on-air personality worlds. The host of a handful of MTV shows, which includes Girl Code Live and Teen Mom, and those are just her TV shows. And she isn't just killing it on TV, she's killing it on radio too. As a DJ and host of Nessa 3 to 7 on Hot 97, New York City's legendary hip-hop station, she has become one of the most powerful female voices in the game. Born in San Diego, Nessa is extremely interesting, but has a very vague and secretive background about her and her family. She appears to possibly be related to the family of Dean Diab Jr., and other family members Saud, Hossam, Hayam, and Hasham. The family seem to have been primarily centered in and around the San Diego Naval Base. You can find so little, if anything, about what they were doing in the San Diego area at all. The Naval Base, sometimes called the 32nd Street Naval Station, is one of the largest bases, consisting of 50 ships and over 120 tenant commands. The total on-base population is 20,000 military personnel and 6,000 civilians. Somebody or entity financed Chaos Nessa's education at UC Berkeley. According to her internet sources, she just happened to show up one day at UC and graduated with a BA in mass communications when she was just 20 years old. She works for the same corporation that signs Alex Jones's PSYOP checks, MS Communications Corporation of Indianapolis. In 2015, MS Corporation sent her to the United Nations to discuss women empowerment issues. MS is the Hebrew word for truth, and MS operates radio stations in the nation's largest markets, including New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago. The founder and CEO of MS is a quiet and well-kept, connected Jewish Zionist, dual citizen, American-Israeli broadcast mini-mogul named Jeffrey H. Smolyan. He has a doctorate law degree from the University of Southern California School of Law and a subsequent Tree of Life Award from the Jewish National Fund. Now that's a curious name, Tree of Life Award. Say, wasn't that a synagogue where the shooting happened called the Tree of Life? I don't know, maybe Tree of Life is a super common name for synagogues. Well, looks like there's only a few. In a quick DuckDuckGo search, I found 3. Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and South Carolina. So look, Patriots, there is so much more I could talk about with her, and while it is important, I want to continue on Kaepernick on something that is a little more important. If you want to dig deeper into her, I will have my resources that I use down below, like I say, and feel free to do your own digs outside of mine if her background interests you. Bringing the focus back to Kaepernick, I have found in my research that his fraternity, Alpha Kappa Psi, is a secret society organization much like the Skull and Bones. Kaepernick is a proud Alpha Kappa Psi member, and it is likely that aside from his girlfriend, he does exactly what he is told by the Masonic Luciferian shadow government and the Illuminati. He is undoubtedly Boule, a goat rider. I will explain more on that in just a moment. He was initiated into the Masonic Fraternal Order of Kappa Alpha Psi on the pagan Delphic altar. Kappas are serious knights of the Alpha, like something out of the bowels of the myths of medieval Luciferian Knights Templar and fallen angels, King Arthur, and the Round Table. The kneel on one knee is symbolic of a knight in prayer to his god, the Baphomet. Their creed is a brotherhood of secrecy. One of the Divine Nine Negro Luciferian Societies, Kappa Alpha Psi, was founded in 1911 as a secret college front for Prince Hall Freemasons in the Grand Masonic Lodge of England. In preparations for all their meetings and their initiation process, the altar of Kappa Alpha Psi, which is the sacred Delphic shrine, shall be placed in the center of the room and covered with a crimson and cream coverlet. That comes out of page 14 of their ritual book. The Delphic shrine is also significant in the Greek polytheistic religion because it was the shrine of the god Apollo. It was his most important place of worship where his oracle presided and prophesied. Kappa Alpha Psi's members kneel at the Delphic shrine, the shrine of the god Apollo, and swear their allegiance to it. Apollo is identified with Lucifer, originally a Roman god associated with the morning star. It might have looked like he was going to fade into the background after all this happened back in 2016. As I mentioned before, Kaepernick never did address the elders of the black folk on his sensational corporate mass media U.S. flag protest as he said that he would. He did not donate that $1 million to organizations that concentrate on police brutality either. But lo and behold, he made waves again in 2017 just before 9/11 with his Nike ad and new Nike agreement where he would be paid massive amounts of money as the new face of Nike, even though he was a less than stellar athlete and didn't have the skills to keep up in the NFL, regardless of his disrespect for the country. He is a knight, a Masonic Goatman, a patron of God Pan first and foremost. So what is a Goatman and to what secret society does he belong? The Goat Rider is a self-proclaimed name the black fraternities give themselves. The source of much modern lore surrounding the fraternal goat is in a book written in 1902 called The Lodge Goat, Goat Rides, Butts, and Goat Hairs by James Pettibone. The book is written from the goat's, God Pan, point of view. According to Pettibone, the source of goat riding can be traced back to the Middle Ages when Christianity converted the old Greco-Roman god Pan into a symbol of Satan. Pan was described as a hairy creature with long horns, hooves, and a shaggy hide. Satan inherited Pan's best-known features of horns, beard, and cloven hooves. Renaissance artists sometimes pictured Satan as arriving in the midst of a pagan, blasphemous ceremony astride a goat. Pettibone further points out that in England, it was widely held that the custom of goat riding was assumed by the Freemasons. It seemed that the 9 main black secret societies make up what is called the Boule. The Boule is fashioned after Yale's Skull and Bones historically, and takes pride in having provided leadership and service to black Americans during the Great Depression, World Wars I and II, and the Civil Rights Movement. In the early 20th century, the Boule offered for blacks the ability to join the exclusive secret society that offered advancement and perks to select blacks in return for loyalty to its objectives. The Boule recruits top blacks in American society into its ranks. Today, apparently 5,000 plus archons, which are the male Boule members, and their wives, arqueuses, with 112 chapters, make up the wealthiest group of black men and women on the planet. Archon means demon, the kind that like to keep hidden. And to who do the Boule really serve? The satanic, mostly white global elite, of course. As long as the black member conforms to the rules, the riches will be in abundance. If not, down comes the hatchet. And blackmail is always part of the deal, and we know that is a common playbook theme when we remember Hillary Clinton and her ability to control power with the computers and phones. This Masonic secret society has a pyramid style like all the rest, where the lower ranks are kept from knowing what the upper ranks are doing. Marcus Garvey, who started the Back to Africa movement, that movement was in full swing at the time that these groups began. Garvey represented genuine black leadership and a positive stance. W.E.B. Du Bois, founding member of the New York City Boule chapter, said this, and I quote, "The Boule was created to keep the black professional away from Marcus Garvey," end quote. The remaking of the House Negro was necessary to institute a group of blacks who had a vested interest in protecting the elite white system. It was about selling out brothers and sisters for power and money. The majority of black lawyers, doctors, engineers, and accountants were members of the secret club back then. The late conspiracy theorist and futurologist Steve Cokely had this to say, and I quote, "Anywhere there are prominent professional blacks, chances are they're in the Boule," end quote. The members of the Boule pose as freedom fighters or civil rights activists on the surface, when in truth, the elite members are operating for personal gain. The Boule works in concert with their masters in maintaining the grip of Illuminati supremacy on their people. The Boule is another arm of the nefarious secret societies that recruit, indoctrinate, and cull for the dark forces. Therein are perks galore, power and notoriety, all lying in wait for the easily compromised soul. Boule comes from the Greek system where the Boule was the lower house of parliament, and they were charged with organizing the affairs of the city for the king, the councilmen. Think about that for a minute in regards to what I've been telling you. This story is an ancient story. The New World Order is the Old World Order. The elite blacks of the Boule are casting off and controlling their own for a slice of the elite white man's pie. Like other secret societies, the Boule encourages homosexual trysts as the initiation practices, which explains the rampant homosexuality in the rap and hip-hop industry. This must be done in order to join the ranks. As Bobby Hemmett says, and I quote, "Any kind of top-notch Negro gets together and they F each other," end quote. These perversions are then cataloged and stored on record. Later, if needed, these abuses may be used as bargaining tools in the ultimate game. And what is the ultimate game? Capturing human souls. The enemy may appear to have a white face, but it goes much deeper than that. This is a force cloaked within many facades, personals, fictions, and governing powers. At a time when blacks were being lynched, raped, and murdered, they thought the organizations that claimed to be for them, that claimed to want their freedom and rights restored, that claimed to help fight for justice, the people would only later find out that the leaders of their movements were answering to the very ones with blood on their hands. In the words of Cokely, when we look at the Boule closely, we find a confusion of values. Black men who felt that their advancement was edged upon a positive relationship with wealthy and influential white people that may have an adverse impact on the revolution. The goal cannot be to kill off the Boule, but to warn them as an organization, just as we should all warn elite organizations. We warn the individuals that if they bring false values or worship a false idol into the community at a time the community attempts to self-determinate, liberate ourselves, and I mean all of us, no matter the color of our skin, if we gave the call, and we can come get them and overpower them if we choose to. We are the majority, and we need to stand up and let them know. Because to kill off the Boule only would be like eating the peel off of a banana and ignoring the actual banana. In other words, in order to stop the puppet, you must stop the puppeteer. And now, moving away from Kaepernick, I want to mention another known Kappa Alpha Psi member named Lecrae Devon Moore, but you may just know him as Lecrae. If you've not heard of Lecrae, according to his website bio, he is an American, allegedly Christian hip-hop recording artist, songwriter, record producer, and apparently an actor. He is the president, co-owner, and co-founder of the independent record label Reach Records, and the co-founder and president of the now-defunct nonprofit organization Reach Life Ministries. My first introduction to the musician was on a series called I Am Second. Interestingly enough, this is also where I found No Malice. I was watching testimonies from people who were far from God yet finding God in the most unexpected places. These stories truly moved and changed me as they were speaking to my heart at a time I was undergoing some difficulty healing and was hitting an awfully painful rock bottom. Lecrae gave a testimony and it was somewhat underwhelming as I recall, but I was interested in who he was as an artist. I've liked a lot of rap and hip-hop in my life, so I wanted to check him out because the secular world of rap was pure garbage and I wanted something better. I listened to Lecrae and found many other artists after him that I loved even more and felt the quality of music superseded Lecrae's. I had a respect for him though, because he seemed to stick it out in the Christian hip-hop realm, and he really seemed talented enough to make loads of money in the secular world. He had branded himself, he signed many other Christian artists to his label, and he'd done something for the industry not seen before ever. I read his book and I related and connected with his story. After a while, something about him didn't fit in my image of walking in my purpose for the Lord. I began to move away from his music, not with judgment, just more of a, well, I don't really like his music that much anyway feeling. Something else tugged at me too. I was finding myself very wary of his behavior. actions, and persona he was putting out there. He seemed to be falling into the Black Lives Matter trap, and that confused me. He was tweeting about certain crimes that we were being made to believe by mainstream media that we had learned were not true. And I thought, as a Christian rapper, that he sought truth. He was acting foolish on his Instagram and seemed to really want attention that wasn't in God's glory. I stopped following his Instagram and I moved away from his music altogether. Last summer, one of his best friends in the Christian hip-hop industry, Andy Mineo, who is also a big name in that industry, took his wife to a Beyonce concert, and many people were not cool with it. I saw a major rift in a normally fairly calm environment when this happened, and I was personally not going to let this one slide. A Christian rapper stays away from the secular world for a reason. They know why they don't want to go there. No one will ever convince me that a hugely talented rapper, singer, actor, or whatever would refuse the secular world if they did not know what went on there to the degree these people are pretending they are ignorant to. Now, I've heard it said and believe it to be true that the devil is allowed to rule this earth, but he has to tell us his plans before he can see them through. We just get so blinded we totally miss the obvious and we forget so easily. I'm now going to show some footage of Lecrae with some content of what I think about it during, and you can decide for yourselves on the rest.
They haven't seen it, and it's a lack of exposure. So thank y'all for exposing people.
And you went to school, you got your degree?
Yeah.
What college did you go to?
University of North Texas.
Somebody hit us and said you're a Kappa, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What'd you major in?
Envy wanted to be a Kappa. Envy wanted to be a Kappa so bad.
Joe went upstairs,
Pretty
like, he's a
boy,
Kappa,
son.
he's a Kappa.
Hilarious.
What'd you major in?
I majored in electronic media, so I wanted to be involved in just
I didn't, but you know what's funny? We always, nowadays, everything we do, we think, we're always like laughing because we like, I wonder what they're gonna find in this one to think it's Illuminati. I thought just us being upside down alone was gonna be enough for them to say I was an Illuminati, like. But no, I didn't. I was thinking steeple, but I guess triangles are, somehow they represent some kind of secret society. So I gotta talk to my kids because they've been doing a lot of geometry lately. So I wonder if the teachers are inducting them in some kind of Illuminati activity. I need to find out about this. It's getting crazy out here, man. Geometry, steeples. If you didn't know, Peace Preparatory Academy in Atlanta, English Avenue, man. Support, look it up, and get the baby some education. Get them away from these evil triangles. Ridiculous. There's only octagons, squares, and circles being taught at this school.
In conclusion, I am convinced Kaepernick and Lecrae are of the Boule and an Illuminati pawns. Kaepernick is too stupid to be where he is today of his own volition. Obviously his girlfriend has most, if not total, control. But it's been set up probably since he was born and his parents signed off on the same soul-selling prophecy he is living out today. As for Lecrae, he's been venturing more and more toward the secular world, and I am certain he has always been. It's disappointing, but I will take truth over lies every day, no matter the hurt I feel because of it. Perhaps he is a gatekeeper to the Christian hip-hop rappers to keep things in line as the controllers see fit. And if he is the Boule, he is selling out his people in order to live in the masses' house. Truly disgusting, and in many ways even worse than the unpatriotic Kaepernick himself by posing as a man who loves God. Believe in something, even if it means keeping your people on the plantation so you can eat the scraps from the table of your owner. And besides, I really never liked Lecrae's music anyway. P.S. My interest in artists that have turned out to be otherwise questionable, to say the least, does not mean that they led me to Satan. On the contrary, I continue to seek God and the truth God would have me see. I would have feelings about people, books, songs, movies, etc., that something just wasn't right and I'd lose interest. That was God providing me discernment before I even knew I needed it. With prayerful intent and asking of God for his wisdom and discernment in all things and all facets of our lives, he will give us bad feelings and bad signs. Whether we heed them or not, that's another story altogether. Hey, last thing. If you are at all interested in someone who is a follower of God and very talented rapper, check out No Malice. It is he who woke me up to spirit cooking, Marina Abramovich, and the satanic rituals of the rap and hip-hop industries. God bless the real ones. Thank you, and good night, Patriots.